Welcome back to another episode of the Total Pre-Med Makeover. I am your host and pre-med strategist, Dr. Renee Volney Dargo. Now, I know it's been quite some time since I've put out an episode, but I said if I'm going to come back, I'm going to come back with a vengeance. And so that's exactly what I'm doing today. I am coming to you from a place of admissions. Who we have with us today is a very, very special guest, Ellie Matthews from ICOM, the Idaho College of Osteopathic Medicine. And we're going to have a great and robust conversation today just about what is on the horizon for ICOM, what kind of students they're looking for, and just how we are partnering together in the MEdEq program to be able to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion at ICOM. So welcome, 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 Ellie, to the Total Pre-Med Makeover.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited that we're a new partner with MEdEq.
Yeah, excellent. We are very excited to have you here, and no doubt that this is going to be a very informative discussion. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself and just, kind of where you grew up, where you're from.
Perfect. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm the admission recruiter at the Idaho College of Osteopathic Medicine. So about me and kind of a little bit of a background is I am born and raised in Boise, Idaho, which is Idaho's capital. And I have been here for college. I went to Boise State University, so go Broncos. We've got the smart turf if anybody recognizes that. And I received my education in communications and public relations. And so being an admission recruiter and just talking to people about something that I'm passionate in as well as they're passionate in, it's been very, very rewarding. And I stumbled across this position about 4.5 years ago, and I was invited to apply, and I was hired on, and it's been history ever since. So I'm the first and only recruiter at ICOM, which is extremely exciting. And I've seen the building go up. I've seen this whole entire program and everything be basically secured and just grow from 2017. So it's been very, very exciting.
Yeah. So it sounds like you basically have been there from the beginning. You've witnessed all of this growth, and you've potentially grown with the school as well. And so that must be really exciting for you.
Absolutely. And it's just interesting because growing up, I never thought there would be a medical school in Idaho. I mean, when I first started recruiting, it was just random. Nobody knew who we were. They would always go, okay, Idaho, what the heck? Because Idaho is very rural. And it's just kind of, everybody gets us mixed up with Ohio and Iowa. And so the fact that we are being able to have this medical education in the state is absolutely rewarding. And seeing that grow and seeing the effects that our institution has on the community as well as the region is absolutely amazing. It's so cool to be able to witness it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember actually living in Idaho for a very short stint, well before 2017, but I remember that there was no school in Idaho, and there are several states in that region where there is no medical school, to the point where at one point they kind of had like a consortium of kind of states that would kind of give preference to people coming from Montana, from Idaho, from those, from that area, so that those, students from those states could have a chance to go to schools that weren't necessarily in their state because they didn't have schools. So it's really exciting to see that, first of all, the first medical school is an osteopathic school in Idaho. So that's really exciting. And it's definitely so very exciting to talk to someone who's kind of seen it from the beginning. So let me ask you, what is ICOM's mission, and how do you think that you and your department, well, you are kind of your your department. How are you guys contributing to that?
So our mission, we're very focused on our mission throughout admissions, throughout your preclinical years to clinical rotations, et cetera. So our mission specifically is to train osteopathic physicians to care for people in Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and beyond. And so I think throughout the duration of this podcast, I'll probably talk about the 5-state region, and that's what I'm referring to. But I also don't want to forget the and beyond portion, and I'll go into that a little bit later. So in terms of admissions, we are looking for people who basically understand. I mean, I know that it calls out that 5-state region specifically, but when you go into that region, you realize it's very underserved. There's not a lot of physician help. And so people like even my family have to travel 30 minutes to an hour to get to their primary care physician or maybe even a critical access hospital, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a specialist. And so there's plenty of areas in the US, plenty of areas in the world that are underserved, but we're primarily focused on this region because it's close, it needs a lot of help, and we don't want the community having to go hours upon hours just to get surgery and then have to go home the next day or the same day even. And so with missions, we're looking for people who are excited about that fact. While our institution is located in Meridian, Idaho, which is technically considered an urban area. If you look at it on Google Maps, because that's how I like to show people, you zoom out and we're surrounded by farmland. We're surrounded by rural area. And so when you zoom out, it's like, okay, that might be urban, but there's not a lot around. The closest city is Salt Lake, and that's 5 hours away, like the big city.
Yeah.
And so we want people who are excited about helping individuals who probably don't see a doctor for a year. You know what I mean? And so that is definitely something we do look at in admissions. And then for preclinical, so years 1 and 2 at our institution, you're going to be on campus and you're going to be working with the community, especially in organizations and interest groups, and being able to volunteer at certain clinics here and there. And then where it's very, very apparent is in the rotations, because at one portion, especially the 3rd year, you're going to be out in clinical settings, hospital settings in that 5-state region. We even have like a couple places that represent the and beyond in our mission statement, which is kind of funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's so, okay, that makes sense. It's Long Island, New York, and Logan, Utah. But we're really trying to make it so no matter where you're from or where you end up, you're still helping our mission in one way or the other. And so by being in these clinical and hospital settings, you get a great education, you get great training, and then you are really prepared for your graduate medical education or residency moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's so very important. I mean, I love the fact that your mission is so focused on specifically that 5-state region, but like you said, the beyond, kind of helps to introduce the fact that no matter where you're from, you can still really meet the goals of the mission. One of the things in Idaho that I was struck by when I was living there was the number of Native American communities that are in these areas as well. I certainly had a number of Native American patients, which I don't think I ever would have encountered, being from the East Coast. I wouldn't have encountered that proportion, that percentage of Native American population patients that I encountered while I was in Idaho. So that for me was really fascinating. So, just the rural nature of it, the fact that there are so many different communities out there that are underserved, I think is something that many students will be attracted to. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you brought up that fact, because a lot of people think of Idaho and they go, okay, diversity is not, they don't think of diversity in Idaho in the same sentence.
Right.
And when you look farther into it and go, okay, well, you're going to be in rural areas where you are going to be working with Native Americans or even Latinos who are in these states, because a lot of people don't think about the different populations that are here. And so I'm glad you brought it up, because that is true. There are massive reservations in the 5-state region. And you are going to come across a lot of diverse people, whether that is by maybe even age or viewpoints or even just the fact of culture and ethnicity. And so it's just, I'm so glad you brought that up, because you will come in contact with diversity and diverse individuals.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the listeners of this podcast are definitely looking for that experience, that diverse experience. And so it's
absolutely
good to know that, that is something that they can get pretty much even in that 5-state, region. So tell us what you really like about the school. I think we kind of know already, but tell us some things that you like about ICOM.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, what is it called when a disclaimer? Okay. Here's a disclaimer. I'm not a student, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And whenever I talk about this, I always give that disclaimer, because if you want to get in touch with a student, by all means, contact ICOM admissions and we'll get you in touch with one.
Yeah.
But the viewpoints are pretty similar here. But as the recruiter and somebody who's here a lot, or understands the culture. I mean, the culture is number one. I love the culture here.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of similarities between osteopathic schools, but the atmosphere and the students really make up the difference. If we didn't have the students, it would be just another building. It would be just another business. And so that's what really makes it different. That's what really makes it exciting and something that people can fit into and make a difference with. And so being here in such a collaborative and healthy environment, because we're not like cutthroat competitive, at least from what I've seen, it's not cutthroat competitive, but it's a healthy competitive vibe out there. And our students are really trying to make a difference in the community. And so their initiatives are absolutely admirable. They create things, like they make certain events and start new things. What's that word? They're go-getters. Innovative. Thank you. That's thank you. Oh my gosh. It's 10:40, but is that an excuse, mountain time? Is that early? Because I kind of feel like maybe it is.
It's a little early, just a little.
Maybe. Well, our students are very innovative, and the fact that we're a newer institution, students really can grasp that innovation and they can start new things. I mean, for interest groups, if they see something that's not really represented on campus in terms of a group, they can start it, which may be very similar to other schools, but because we're a newer institution, you can be the founder, and that's really exciting to a lot of people. And beyond all of that, I mean, obviously I love the area, and I think it's a fantastic place to be for your medical education. Like I said, born and raised here, I really haven't left. And there's a reason. I love Boise. I love Meridian. And so that's a factor in why I like it. And then I know I said that if we didn't have students, it would just be a building, but we have a pretty darn cool building. I mean, we're an Apple distinguished school, so all of us use Apple products only. And so there's a great communication with technology and Apple Inc., because Apple Distinguished School, that basically means Apple Incorporated has recognized you and awarded you with that title. And so it's like an application process we have to go through. And we were invited to do that in 2018. And then this year they invited us again to apply for the same award, because it's only like 3 years long. And so it was just kind of like an automatic invitation for an automatic renewal, because we're doing a bunch of things technology wise. I mean, even our IT department has been looking into VR. And so that would just be in addition to everything else. We're not going to replace anything in person, but I love our building. I love everything that goes into it as well. So I think the culture and atmosphere, the location, and the building are kind of my top favorite things about our institution.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? That an institution that is as young as yours, right? 2017, right? That an institution that is as young as yours, has gotten that much innovation that it's actually been kind of awarded and invited by Apple, to have
Yeah.
that amount of recognition. That's absolutely amazing. And I think students, you mentioned VR, the virtual reality aspect of it, right? I mean, there are schools out there who are much older, but don't necessarily, haven't necessarily gotten to that point yet. I suspect that at some point all schools will get there,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that you're offering that, now, like in the now, when it really is kind of almost it. I mean, I would say that it's kind of brand new, right? It's brand new. It's
Yeah, I would
it's
say.
exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty impressive. Now you mentioned Boise, so I did not live in Boise, but I did visit Boise while I lived in Idaho. I actually lived in the like southwest um, corner, if you will, of Idaho, which was really like close to Utah, Salt Lake City in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah.
And I did visit Boise, however, and I got to tell you, I loved it.
It's
I
so fun.
absolutely,
It's
I
so cute.
Yes, it's such a cute place. It is such a cute place. It's like clean, crisp. The air
Yeah.
is definitely different from East Coast, because the air is
Yes.
is there's hardly any humidity there. Um,
There's no, I love it. Oh my gosh, I do not like
yes,
humidity. And so it's perfect. I mean, we do have a river and it's a clean river. I mean, we float
right.
it every year. It goes through the center of town. And so when you're kind of down there, it's just a teeny bit humid, but
Yeah,
like nothing where I feel like I am, if I take a shower and then I go outside, I don't feel like I took another shower. You know what I
right.
mean? Like
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't like humidity. And so we're technically a semi-arid desert we call it the Treasure Valley because we're
Hmm.
in like a little valley and we're a semi-arid desert. So yeah, it is dry, but we've
Yeah.
got all seasons and I don't personally think it's very harsh. Some of the
Yeah.
summers can be a little hot and obviously the natural hazards are always
Right.
there, like forest
Right.
fires. We're a little bit closer to the West Coast where there's a bunch of forest fires, right? But
Yeah.
Boise is just a good place to be. We're
It
not a
really
college
is.
town, and a lot of people think we are, but
Yeah.
we've got colleges here, but we're not a college town. There's a
Right.
bunch of things here. There's a bunch of new things coming here.
Yep.
And so, I mean, we're growing at an exponential rate, but it still has kind of that small town feel, which is so
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, it's such a cute place. Lots of culture out there. When I was out there,
Yeah.
what's the Comic Con? I think was out there at
Really?
one. Yeah, I think Comic
Oh,
Con was out
cool.
there,
See, I didn't know
or
that.
anime, or
Probably
I'm not up on one of them. But when I was
one of
out
them.
there, like it really was just like, wow, like this is a really big conference, for especially for the genre, right, of
Yes.
anime, comic, one of them. I don't know because I'm not really into that stuff, but I did realize like, oh wait, like this is a really big conference to have in Boise. Like Boise must be really popping. And
Yeah.
so it was a really, really great place to be. I went with a friend of mine. We went out to, I think it was the river actually, or no, it was like a pond or something, and we got into like one of
Yeah.
those paddle boats, and it was just
Oh, the
great.
paddle boat.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about.
yep,
I know exactly. That's Julia Davis
yeah,
Park, which is beautiful. That's where the zoo is.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
it's on the north side of the river, and on the
yeah,
south side of the river by that pond is Boise State University. So,
yeah,
a beautiful portion of the river. They've got
yeah.
a beautiful rose garden there. The art museum's over there. The Idaho museum's over there.
Right,
I know
lots of culture out
exactly.
there. Yeah, I,
And
I
you can
mean,
even
it
rent
just
a
is.
swan paddle boat. So
Yeah.
I hope you got it
It
because
was
that
great.
one's pretty fun to be on. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
it was great. It
I'm
really
so
was.
happy you
And
got to
I
do
got to
that.
tell you, as a girl from the East Coast, I would have never expected to have as much fun as I did in Idaho. I really wouldn't have. I thought like, oh well, I'll go to Idaho, I'll increase the diversity population by like 6% just by being there by myself. And it's just going to be, an experience where I go in, I go out, and I'm done.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, that year of living there, going to Yellowstone,
Yeah.
I brought my parents out, took them to Yellowstone. I mean, it was just, craters of the
Beautiful.
moon. Like,
Yes.
it's just an amazing place.
I feel like Idaho has been so underrated for so long because we have gorgeous areas. The Sawtooths.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yes, the Sawtooth.
For those of you listening, look up the Sawtooths, look up Goat Lake, look up Sawtooth Lake. The Tetons are on our east. It's on the east border. Grand Teton National Park. And then you've got Yellowstone, and then Craters of the Moon is just something unworldly, I feel.
Yes.
And then you've got Bear Lake, and then you've got northern Idaho, which is literally Pacific Northwest. Everybody just kind of gives us the rap of the potato state, which is funny.
Right.
If you're watching this session, I mean, we've got potatoes, right? Because we're the potato state. But believe it or not, more than 50% of our state is covered in forest. And so the south of Idaho is absolutely gorgeous in its own way, but that's where all the potatoes are.
Right.
So when you're there, you'll see a lot of like volcanic history, which is gorgeous in itself. But I mean, going up to the Sawtooths and going up to McCall even being in Sun Valley, which
Sun
is like
Valley. I was just
resort.
about to mention Sun Valley, where all the celebrities hang out.
Yeah, exactly. So when you think about it, and Coeur d'Alene, which is way north.
Yes.
A lot of people know Coeur d'Alene.
Yep.
It's just so many things are in Idaho that a lot of people just don't even think about. They just automatically go, oh, potatoes, which our giveaways don't really help. But it's
I have one here.
Place to be.
Water.
The water bottle.
My ICOM water bottle.
I'll have the potato here.
But yeah,
if anybody wants a potato, they can always ask for one. But it's a beautiful place to not only go get your education, but even come back and practice. Yeah. It's beautiful here. And even with the growing number of people who are actually moving here, you're going to have so many opportunities, whether or not you just stay here for your education, or if you come here after residency or even for residency. It's a fantastic place to be. And Boise specifically, I mean, if you like the outdoors, tons of hiking. There's hot springs all over.
Hot springs. Ooh, I love the hot springs. Lava hot springs.
Pretty good. They're pretty good here.
Oh my gosh. And let me tell you something. My friend took me out to Lava Hot Springs. I had never experienced it before.
I love lava.
But there's like this gas station. There's a gas station right before Lava, and it has the best Thai food I've ever tasted in my life. I was like, nah, this can't be all that great. And we sat and ate best Thai food I've ever tasted in my life. I was like, what is this place?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's some hidden gems like that, like up in Idaho City, which is about an hour away, which is a little mining town. They've got a nice little resort hot springs up there, but there's this like teeny little restaurant, and they make the best finger steaks with prime rib. Like,
see?
So, I feel like Guy Fieri should just tour around Idaho because there's so many diners, drive-ins, and dives that are like gold nuggets. You know what I mean? So it's beautiful.
I mean, it's
I love it
a
here.
Great place. Yeah.
And I'm glad you can talk on it too, because you've lived in the state. So it's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I don't regret not one moment of living in Idaho. And I, honestly, much of what I've learned while I lived in Idaho, like I still take with me today, and my husband always teases me because at that point when I was living in Idaho, I had learned a lot about wine. We would go to a lot of wine tastings. Yeah. And so my husband makes fun of me now because he's like, oh, so like you're a connoisseur? I'm like, well, I did live in Idaho.
Oh my gosh. Stop it. It's so funny because nobody thinks that we have a lot of hops and wineries. Like
Yeah,
we've got vineyards and hops out here. So there's a ton
ton.
of
Yes,
local breweries and
yes,
local wineries. And they're just like all kind of booming in the Treasure Valley, especially. And so
yeah,
it's so funny you said that because it's so true.
yeah,
It's so true.
yeah. No,
So,
it's absolutely, absolutely great. So let's dive into kind of diversity,
yes.
equity, and inclusion. Now, ICOM recently, because of your leadership specifically, has joined the MEdEq program, which we know MEdEq stands for Medical Education and Equity. Um, and you've joined the program recently as a partner, looking
Mhm.
to basically, I guess, engage with students who would essentially fall under the realm of underrepresented in medicine. Why was that something that was so very important to you?
I think primarily it's one part of it was to kind of help individuals see that Idaho is a safe place to be. It is a good place
Mhm.
to be. And we want to increase diversity. We want to be able to attract and support individuals. And this is a huge step, but kind of like a necessary step to do so, because if you want to attract and support individuals, you have to do things like this. And so if we're trying to recruit these individuals, I feel like this just kind of was a no brainer. You know what I mean? It was a no
Right.
brainer to invest in this program, invest in the tools that you are providing for these students,
Mhm.
because not only does it help recruit and tell people, yeah, ICOM wants you, but it also says we want to support you because you're helping these people no matter what. Even if they
Right.
don't go to ICOM, they know
Right.
that they are supported by somebody and by
Right.
an institution moving forward.
Yeah. I think what you said was actually really, really important. And I really want the students to understand that even if the student doesn't end up going to ICOM, ICOM is still supporting and helping to
Yeah.
cultivate the students in the MEdEq program as students who potentially will become top choice applicants, essentially,
1000%.
you know? And
Yeah,
I think
because
that's just so important that I feel like I wish that more schools would take that view to say, hey, even if you don't come to our school, we want to be able to increase the pool of students out there who
yeah,
are, underrepresented but need that support and actually get that support. And we're going to do our part to make sure that they get everything that they need. Now, chances are that will help to cultivate the relationship,
yeah,
right? The relationship with that school. So if you're talking to Ellie Matthews, on every month basis, right, on a monthly basis, and she's helping you to cultivate yourself and helping you to navigate the process, there's a very good chance that one, not only will you put your trust in Ellie and in ICOM, but two, that once you do that, that Ellie understands who you are, how hard you've been working towards this, and that when your application does come to ICOM, that she can actually serve as an advocate for you.
yeah.
And I think that's really important. Tell us a little bit more about the impact of forming relationships with students that you might have experienced over the years.
Oh, this is so because we're such a newer institution, it's been like I've seen more of the same students over the past couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so being able to see individuals who are actually following their passion and being able to be an advocate for them and help them, not only does it like fuel my excitement and fuel my passion, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
I'm able to see somebody and this whole entire culture and atmosphere grow. And beyond that, though, at least when I recruit, I don't recruit as like, okay, I come only, let's go. It's more to help people figure out where they can go. And so I'm an advocate not only for just here, but also for medical school in general. I'm a little bit more knowledgeable in osteopathic schools,
Yeah.
but yes, I recruit for ICOM, but I want to see them be able to be successful no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think I really answered your question. I kind of just
No,
went off into something that just came into my head a little bit. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the foundation of it is being able to provide that information and provide that nurture for these students to be able to attain what they need to and what they want. And it's just a no-brainer. Like in my head, it's just a no-brainer that we would be a part of MEdEq because we want to support that. And if you end up going to Des Moines College of Osteopathic Medicine, I'm thrilled. I'm way happy because I may have had one inkling of help to help you get there. And that's what matters to me, because we recruit for ICOM, but we're recruiting for osteopathic medicine and medical school in general to help you become a future physician and the type of physician you want to be. And if one of those steps was me helping you take one step forward and that's all I did, I'm still helping that progression. ICOM is still supporting that. And I think that's the bottom line. Like, first and foremost. So
I think
we're advocates. Yeah.
Right. I think that's a testament to ICOM, right? That they would hire people like you who understand that, you know, there is a mission for the school. There are goals for the school, but there is also a greater mission in general, you know? And so to be able to do one layer of that, which would be, well, we're going to help our school, we're going to help our mission, is one thing. But then to look at the, 30,000 foot view and say, no, we are helping the profession is, such on a different level. And I definitely have to commend ICOM for that, for bringing on people like yourself, because that is so, so very important. And I think that looking at it from the 30,000 foot view is ultimately actually going to help ICOM fulfill its own goals because of the way that you're looking at it. So tell us a little bit about the types of students that you're looking for. Like what makes a student like, ooh, yeah, like I want that student at ICOM?
Oh my gosh, there's tons of things, but let's see. I'll try and whittle it down so it's not as just kind of broad and broader and then specific. Okay, anyway, because I could talk forever. I could talk your ear off. So we want first and foremost students who want to be an osteopathic physician because we're an osteopathic medical school. So it kind of makes sense, right? We want you to be at least understanding of what osteopathic medicine is. And so I think that's like the bottom line, that foundational aspect is like, know what osteopathic medicine is. And then somebody who is comfortable talking to individuals, because when you get into medical school, you are going to have to be talking to your patient or your standardized patients or the people that you help with volunteering. You will learn how to become comfortable with that close touch and contact, but being able to talk to somebody and feel okay doing so, because that communication is key. And then beyond that, I think when I'm talking to a student, I'm like, I want them, is they're so focused on getting to medical school. They're willing to do whatever they need. And so they've pursued it. They want to show that they did work in clinical experience. And even if they worked at, I don't know, Foot Locker or something along those lines, they can always say, hey, I learned how to really hone in on customer service. So I know how to work with individuals from all sorts of life. And that's going to help me in my physicianship in my future because of XYZ. And so really kind of tying everything into their future of what they want is kind of like, oh, I want you.
Yeah.
Think about ICOM. Yeah. And then obviously whenever I talk to students, I always say, okay, you got to find the best fit for you, because ultimately you can be the tip top student ever, but if we're not a good fit, then that's kind of like, okay, then ICOM's not the good fit. So kind of figuring out what you need in a medical school and where you feel you'll be best successful is kind of what it comes down to. So doing the research about the school, following them on social media, see what the culture is about, because the website is the official information and social media is everything else that's happening. And so being able to say why ICOM is a good fit, why you want to come to our institution, do you want to work for a year in a rural area, that sort of thing. And so I think that's kind of what we look for, what excites me when I find an applicant who fits that sort of thing.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think, students are always looking for that fit, right? What would make me an attractive candidate? But you kind of also mentioned that students should also be looking at, well, what would make this an attractive school? And I think we talked a lot about, what would make ICOM an attractive school. One thing that students always talk about, obviously, when it comes to medical school, is the metrics. And so tell me, like, what is kind of the process of looking at students' metrics and determining, if that is part of what would make them a good fit?
Absolutely. Okay. So you've probably already gone through that application process of like you submit a primary application to a COMIS, and then you get a secondary and then interview, and then you get offered a position. I mean, obviously there's always but there's always the option to not be pursued within that. So at least for us, we look at the primary applications. We do review everything. I think GPA is a little bit more of a holistic view than the MCAT. Our admission committee is a little bit strict on that MCAT score. And so we do look for kind of an overall cumulative 3.2 GPA and an overall 3.2 science GPA. If you have an upward trend, that's fantastic. Sometimes we don't do too well in our undergrad. And so we like to see a graduate in the hard sciences or a post-bac if that's the case. And so we do take everything into consideration with all of that.
Yeah.
For the MCAT, it's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit more of a stricter kind of metric. Our admission committee really, really kind of sticks to that 50th percentile and above, with subsections at the 35th percentile and above. Definitely doable. It's definitely doable. And there is a confidence band on the MCAT, and sometimes they'll accept scores within the confidence band if it's like maybe a point lower than the 50th percentile, something like that. But we do try and review applications holistically overall. So we do take everything into consideration. But like I said, it's a little bit more of a stricter kind of look at that MCAT.
Yeah.
And then we do look at that personal statement, reread it. We see if it's something that is well written. Is it grammatically correct? How many are there typos in it all over the place?
Yeah.
Can you tell that they put effort into it? We look at experiences. We love to see this clinical experiences. We love to see that somebody's written about their employment and talked about what they've gained. I mean, we do read everything, publications. What about their volunteer hours? Do they go to mock interviews with MEdEq? Do they have experience with MEdEq or something along those lines? And I think at least with us, if you feel like you can't put it on application, email us and let us know, and we can put it on the ICOM application for you. Just write a little blurb about it. Not all schools will do that. They're like application updates. Not all schools may do that, but we're more than happy to accommodate students and help them put what they need. Obviously, don't send us like pages and pages and pages.
Right. But don't get overzealous.
Yeah. But if it's something like you don't feel like you can put MEdEq on your application, well, write us a note and say, hey, I've been involved in this. This is what I've done, etc. And it's something we're definitely going to read. So that's the primary application. If we want to pursue you, we'd send a secondary, which, as you all probably know, is very specific to the school. And so ours does not look like Rocky Vista College of Osteopathic Medicine or Kansas City University. It's very different from school to school. And ours is more essay-based. And it'll be things like, why ICOM? Tell us what osteopathic medicine means in your words without using holistic.
Right.
And so
Right.
you'll have, it's no limit on the essay. So you can write a novel if you want, but
Mm-hmm.
we have a secondary. And if we pursue you, then you'd be placed to interview consideration. And the interview is really where students get to shine and show that they can communicate their passion, show that they
Yeah.
can communicate why they want to go to our institution and about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
I usually tell
yeah.
students once they get to the interview process, it really is up to them at that point to get that
Yes.
seat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 1000%. Because that interview, I feel like, is that pinnacle because it could go either way, really, at
Right.
that point,
Right.
And if you don't interview well, chances are you won't be pursued because I just don't think a lot of people necessarily really think about that interview in that way, but that interview is where you really show, hey, this is me beyond the paper that you just looked at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm awesome.
I'm
So
awesome.
I'm
Right.
telling you what I am all about
Yeah.
in a humble way. Obviously, you don't want to
Right.
be
Right. Yeah.
to a point where it's like unhealthy thinking you're
Yeah.
awesome, but
I'm so awesome.
I know. So like taking advantage of mock interviews that MEdEq does, or
Yeah.
working with other institutions even is
Right.
very, very helpful. But those are kind of the metrics that we look at. Every school has prereqs you've got to complete. And so those are listed on each website, and then letters of recommendation, obviously. But
Right.
we kind of only have those requirements of like the GPA, MCAT, letters of recommendation, and prereqs. And then everything else is kind of just beyond those minimums. So we want to see who you are. We want to see beyond the minimums, and we want to see what you can bring to the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think you mentioned so many important things that students need to understand. The gist being that, yes, your MCAT, your GPA is definitely going to be a part of your application process, but do not sleep on all of the other things that make you you. And
Absolutely.
poo-poo those things as if they don't matter, because
Yeah.
eventually, like, it's going to matter. And so I want the students to really understand that. But this has been a great conversation. I just absolutely love your energy. I love talking to you.
I love talking to you too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely am so thrilled when we get to chat.
Yeah, it's been great. So you can find Ellie Matthews, as well as her colleague. Your colleague is?
So Amanda is listed on the application, Amanda Griswold. She is the Assistant Director of Admissions, and you can find her as well on the app.
Yeah.
Something to note, though, is we do have a change. And I feel like this is a perfect spot to say it, but right now, Dr. Mortensen is listed as the diversity officer. And although he is kind of like, he's the dean of, he has a very long title. It's a very long title. I mean, it's rather new, so forgive me for not remembering it right off the bat. Let me just really quickly, I'm going to look it up really fast. He's the Associate Dean of Educational Development, Innovation, and Diversity, and he's also the Title IX coordinator. But so he's kind of like that overall person, but we did have a change. We recently hired on like an official diversity officer, and her name is Shatay. And so she's actually going to be another person that you can reach out to. She just started like last week or 2 weeks ago. And so that change is going to come here really, really soon. And if you're listening to this way in the future from when we recorded this, she's probably already on, but she's another fantastic advocate and connection you can make for ICOM. So I wanted to give that little update.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I look forward to talking with her as well, and just, working with all of you, to, again, just really help to cultivate these students, and let them know that, listen, these schools are here for you. The schools on the MEdEq program are here for you to help develop you, to help cultivate you, to help meet you and advocate for you. So you definitely should reach out to Ellie, to Amanda, to the new diversity officer, once we get her information up. But this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so, so, so very much, Ellie. Again, you can find her on the MEdEq app. I'll leave the information on how to join MEdEq in the show notes for you if you haven't joined already. If you are already on the MEdEq app, well, then all you have to do is go to the recruiter tab and you'll see Ellie's cute little face right there.
Yes,
So,
please drop a note, talk to me or talk to Amanda. We're so happy to chat, even if it's just a small question or anything along those lines. We're very approachable, I promise.
yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ellie.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.